One of the other things you talked about that I've seen you talk about online about mastering the inner self and the things that hold people back is ill will. And I think, it's like if you look in the mirror and you say, oh, there's anger inside of me, there's judgment inside of me. Is that also associated with ill will? Is it towards yourself, towards others, to the world? What does that mean, ill will?
To the mental state. Whatever triggers it is pretty irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's sometimes also, just think about it. When we were young and we didn't get what we wanted, we became angry.
Mm-hmm.
As a teenager, somebody took something away from you, you got angry. Nowadays, 21st century, somebody takes something away from you, you are angry. The reasons why this anger came up, always different. But the anger is always the same. The anger you feel today is the same anger that you felt when you were in young ages. So that means there might be the feeling that outside circumstances are triggering something inside of you. Yes, it's triggering something, but what eventually comes up is what you have not been able to adjust in the proper way yet. And the same is like ill will. Ill will is a state of the mind. It's not just, doesn't matter if it's towards yourself, towards another person, towards an animal, towards your colleagues. It's always the same ill will. It is something inside of you, which if you don't pay attention to, is going to be a hindrance along your way of walking.
How do we heal or integrate ill will so that it's no longer inside of us? How do we reevaluate it, mend it, heal it, go beyond it?
Go beyond it, I think, is the more proper expression, because this is now really playing with the words, but it's still important, because we don't try to get rid of all of these things. You don't want to get rid of the body that it's never going to be inside of your body anymore. You don't want to get rid of your jealousy when it comes up. You don't want to get rid of the joy that you feel. You don't want to get rid of your feelings. You want to have a very great variety of different feelings that you can tap into. The only thing which makes the difference is if you are tapping into this world of feelings consciously, or if that world of feelings is just unconsciously imploding inside of you. This makes the difference. And so to overcome it means to realize it is there. Yeah, but now, like sometimes, what to do? You need to find something, a state of the state of level on which you are coordinating. Which means you have to stand above you. Learn to get into a perspective where you are standing above you, which means this is not about you at the moment. This is not about you. Stand above it. It is about you see, okay, you see that person at the moment has an issue. How would you, as somebody watching at you, help him?
How would you coach, guide,
How
teach?
would you coach yourself, guide yourself to the better version? And this is what it only means, to sometimes de-identify yourself with this one.
Yes.
If you are caught inside here, I think it becomes difficult.
There's some neuroscience that talks about that. We're really good at being a negative or a critical coach to ourselves and putting ourselves down in those situations, as opposed to stepping aside and coaching from a different perspective to ourselves. And there's neuroscience that backs the importance of that as a tool to go beyond it as well. So I think it's really important. How often do you feel these emotions or feelings of ill will, anger, jealousy, frustration, How often do you feel them? And how do you teach or coach yourself beyond them?
If I want to, I can tap inside of it right away, and my whole day is filled with it. No matter where I watch around on the street, there's no problem at all for me to generate the feeling that ill will starts to dominate.
Really?
Yes.
At any moment, you could go there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just then I just asked, this feeling that you are in, does it feel good?
No.
You know? And then the point is just like this, that it doesn't even feel good to be in it.
Right.
You know? So if we would say ill will, if at least it would give you something by staying inside that state of the mind, at least then I would understand. But if you watch at it, there is nothing positive, zero. There is no benefit to yourself, and there is especially no benefit to the people around you that this ill will is going to cause. So that means, what is the first thing that I do when I realize, let's say, I have this feeling? First of all, I need to know from what does it come? What is it at the moment that triggers it? So I try to identify very quickly what is at the moment the source that is triggering it. Yeah.
What is usually the source for you in a situation that triggers ill will? Is it injustice? Is it someone treating someone poorly? Is it someone with a lot of money that triggers you? Like, what's the root trigger?
Actually, this is now a question where, for example, I say it's so super helpful if you already have, let's say, some type of concept, some type of teachings. They tell you already where it comes from, very simply. And this ill will, to 100%, in all its different variation that it comes in this world, mainly from 3 reasons.
Oh, what are these?
Either from greed, greed of not getting more than you want, hate or jealousy of not getting what you want. And sometimes it's called, let's say, ignorance or not knowing. Greed, hate, ignorance. And especially ill will easily falls into one of these categories, or sometimes a combination of these things. So ill will can be, why does he get it? I deserve it. Why you deserve it? Because you think about yourself, you are the more hardworking person in this room. So what is that combination? In that combination, it is like there's unfairness from your subjective view, unfairness, jealousy, no respect towards yourself, so which then also can maybe mean a low level of self-esteem, of self-confidence, a lack of it. So it's very often like a variety of these attributes, I think.
Yeah.
But ultimately broken down, I think that's it. Greed, hate, not knowing.
When does ill will enter your emotions for you personally? Like, what is it that you see where you feel it for a moment? Obviously, it sounds like you know how to catch it and go beyond it pretty quickly. But when it happens to you, what do you struggle with?
I would say when it is like a very subjective, I have to say.
Yes.
Because this is the reason why I always catch myself back, and why then afterwards is not so bad anymore. But subjective unfairness.
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 In the fairness in the world, or is it some like a jealousy unfairness, like, oh, they have something?
No. It's not that about they have something. It's about they project something upon you, not knowing the full truth.
So unfairness towards you.
For example.
Gotcha, yeah. Maybe someone's judging you or has an opinion or criticism that they don't have the full story or the wisdom or they don't know you.
Yes.
Right. And so that's So when that happens, when you feel judged or criticized, or there's an unfairness about you personally,
They don't know better.
how do you not let it ruin your day or stay in the emotions of anger or frustration or unfairness? How do you go beyond it personally?
I breathe in deeply and I breathe out. And this sounds super ridiculous, but if you really ask me how do I cope with such situation, this is meanwhile what I do. I am very aware that I have it right now, and I combine my breath, meaning something is getting out of me, together with my deep intention and with my deep connection of the mind together with the breath. First of all, they don't know better. If they would have more information available, they would maybe see me differently. And together with that physical aspect, this is what I do. This is the first, and it's like a valve. Before you start imploding, before something starts to rise too much and the pressure builds up, first of all, get rid of that steam, get rid of that air out. And that's why it sounds very ridiculous sometimes to really say, just breathe out. But it's not about the breath only. It's about how serious are you living different type of teachings and methods. And if you are able to learn to combine the breath with an intention, work with intention more consciously, then I think it's very, very possible to get into an area where breath becomes everything to you.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in breathing, meditation strategies, whatever meditation and breathing strategies work for you. But having some type of breathing practice where you slow down the breath, I feel like benefits all human beings. And there's lots of different strategies and styles of breathing. But I think focusing on the intention and the breathing combined, like you said, is extremely powerful. I'm curious, if someone is feeling anger, unfairness, or any emotion around ill will about something that's happened to them, and they feel this is unfair, and they have this anger or defensiveness, you talked about the breathing. What is the intention that they can think of during those moments, 60 seconds, 10 minutes, however long it takes, to go beyond it? What is the intentional thought while they're in that, it's stressful, the heart is pounding, I don't like this, I want to break free of this. What can they think or say internally along with the breath to help them go beyond?
This is sometimes what people then refer to as a mantra can be helpful. So especially in such moments, you have something you always tell to yourself, continuously repeat. And now these can be different things. If you merge together the thought, they don't know better, together with the cultivation of a heart quality of compassion inside of you, then I think even this thought together with that heart quality and the breath has a very powerful impact.
Wow.
And this is why initially I said about there are hard qualities.
Hard qualities.
Hard qualities,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
So that means this is why it's helpful to really from time to time make clear to yourself again. So the greatest love you have ever felt in this lifetime, how did it feel? How does it feel? So if somebody would ask you nowadays, so when was the moment you really felt love? Well, first of all, you can't make it on the go. Second of all, even probably people nowadays are ashamed of even getting into this state of being while other people are watching around. This is why you need to do these practices alone, where nobody is watching you and where are you sure you are only with yourself. And there, what you do, you start to travel. You travel into the world of your memories, and you travel into everything that you are still able to recall in your mind that has happened in the past. when somebody hugged you, your father, your mother, your grandfather, your first girlfriend, your first boyfriend, it doesn't matter. Recall the situation where you think this was the greatest feeling I have ever felt when I hear about that word love. So then at least in the 21st century, you are at least recalling it again and now know maybe how it feels. And after you have this feeling, now you ask yourself if something like this is existing. And you would have the chance that the people in this world can choose in which state of being would you yourself personally would like to live, and what would you wish the others to live in.
Wow.
I think you will only, if you're intelligent, you will only come up with one answer, which is for all of them. And this is the reason why out of that loving feeling arises then what we call compassion, which means I know how great this feeling is. So that's why maybe I know in which direction I would like to guide my life to finally have this feeling, let's say, more in my life. And now you walk around and then you see people that are obviously sad, that are obviously having issues day in, day out, and busy with their mind, and you see how they are suffering. And because you see it, and now have this direct comparison to yourself, this is why it becomes so much easier now that you are not going to act anymore out of ill will. So the ill will is only there because you are not at that level yet where you can stand above it. Easily said.
Yeah. Feel the love and the compassion for yourself and others at the same time. It's really hard to do though, right? When you feel like someone is against you, attacking you, hurting someone you care about, saying mean things about you, nasty lies about you, judging you. It's hard to have the feeling of love and compassion in those moments because you feel like this is unfair, this is not right, this is not just. Why don't they just stop it?
Yes, exactly. In that moment. That's why if you feel like moments are too overwhelming for you, number one is get out of the situation. If we get into a big argument right now and you feel like, no, this is too overwhelming, I would now really get out of the room, number one. Yeah, so something very practical.
Yes.
If something is too overwhelming, then we say, get distance first of all. Get distance. Now, this is a nice part, for example, that our abbot, for example, in the monastery also teach us. He always said, you need to be able to adjust room and time. You need to be able to learn and adjust space and time, let's say.
Yes.
Yeah, sounds very philosophical. But space and time means, if we're in an argument, a big one, I want space first of all, so that means I have distance to observe, that is the space. And I want time, because time lets me think more clearly if I'm not under pressure. If you have someone that you really don't like, then vice versa, you also know exactly what to do then. If he's a friend, he or she is a friend, you always give room and time.
Yeah.
If you want to make enemies, you steal room and space. You don't let them move and you don't give them time to react. This is how you treat enemies.
Wow. You pressure them.
You pressure them.
You lock them in. You confine them. Yeah.
Because this is what it is.
Wow.
What arises out of that situation, if you put people under pressure, is something that is overwhelming them. And overwhelming means your emotions are not under your own control, which makes you vulnerable.
Right.
That is like the the point behind this. So another thing to just keep in mind, no matter what type of emotion it is that we are sometimes feeling, is you don't take decisions while you are emotional. Next one.
Don't make decisions while you're emotional.
No.
Yeah.
And I understand sometimes people in certain areas, fast-paced areas, where like time is money. Yeah, I don't have time to think about. Yeah, and so meanwhile we really have this culture where like somebody walks in, gives me a question, and expects the answer right away. And I'm always asking myself, why can't you just to some questions just say, let me think about it. I'm going to come back to it tomorrow.
Right.
So that means sometimes there are questions you are being asked by people where you feel it puts you under pressure. But maybe think about it. Why do you want to answer it right away? What's the point to give the answer right away, especially if it's an important answer? I personally would prefer, if I would come up to you with a really important question, I would even prefer for you to tell me, okay, that is something I cannot just decide on the spot. Let me think about it, and tomorrow we're going to talk about it again.
Right.
And then also for me, I have no problem to say, okay, let's talk tomorrow.
Right.
And this is also something where nowadays it's, a lot of pressure is coming from these type of things that unconsciously you just give answers for the sake of giving answers, whereas it would be better to just wait.
Wait on it, yeah. Think about it. Speaking of, you mentioned enemies for a second ago. What is the Shaolin philosophy around enemies when you're not in an actual physical war, when you're not in combat, when you're not fighting for your life, but there is a potential enemy psychologically, business, relationship, whatever, family, friend who's feeling like an enemy? What is the philosophy of the Shaolin way on how to approach an enemy when it's not a physical attack?
If we're really not talking about physical attack, then I think it's very easily expressed that we are right now in the field of Buddhist teachings or of Chan or Zen teachings, which means it is about the mind. We are only talking right now about psychological aspects. And every confrontation that you are feeling inside the mind, for me personally, what it means is, if something is resonating and is still triggering me mentally and therefore also emotionally, the only thing it means is that is one of the next areas I need to learn to adjust. This is my initial, I don't know what else to say.
That's the lesson. It's more adjusting within you, not them.
No. The reason why they are there is to show you your weakness. What you can try to just observe about yourself is the feeling, no matter what it is, very, very often is just the postponed, let's say, the postponed reaction of what way before that was already implemented